Welcome back to the Make a Baby podcast. I'm Carolina Sotomayor, your podcast host and Reiki Womb Healer. Today, we are talking about, can you get pregnant with endometriosis? Today, I have a new friend. Be careful, we're going to fall in love with her. Her name is Alyssa Chavez, and we're going to talk to her. She is an endometriosis coach. So, Alyssa, thank you so much for being here. Can you share where you're at in the world, what you do, and what is your magic?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be here. So, I am located in California, and where it's nice and sunny at the present moment and most of the time. And what I do is I work in functional nutrition with women with endometriosis. So, it involves a lot of kind of investigating, getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms and helping to nourish your body and get to a place of feeling better from a holistic perspective. And my magic, really more than anything, I think is just my passion for what I do and how much it just lights me up to talk about health and healing and to help others in the process of getting to where they want to be in their lives. I'm super passionate about that. I think my own story and my journey has given me a lot of empathy and compassion for those around me. And I think that's something that's so needed in the world, especially with a chronic condition like endometriosis. That's such a challenge for people to live with. And so I think that's really my magic, is being somebody that can connect with all of that.
I'm super curious about your journey. Can you, because I don't know, what is a functional nutritionist? I've heard of a functional medicine doctor or practitioner, but does that mean? What does it do?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very similar to functional medicine. If you're familiar with functional medicine, the approach is very, very similar. Whereas we're working with the functional testing. I do a lot of stool testing and blood work and hormone testing and things like that to really investigate what's going on in the body, and then use nutrition and supplements and lifestyle strategies to help with balancing out whatever might be going on in your body.
Oh, I love that it's hormone based in it even test their stool. That is wild. I like that. You're really going in deep.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you end up working with endo? Is that part of your story?
Yeah. I have.
Can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah. Oh, I would love to. Yeah. I think sharing our stories is one of the most powerful things, right? So absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had my own journey with endometriosis, which really started back in 2017. Well, 2016, I guess, is when I went off of birth control for the first time in 7 years. And, during that time I was on birth control, was generally feeling fine, wasn't having a lot of symptoms. And as soon as I pulled the birth control, I started feeling absolutely terrible. I was having really, really painful periods to the point where I couldn't stand up straight. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't really function at all, and was having a lot of digestive symptoms and fatigue and just a lot of not great stuff happening in my body. And I was only in my late 20s at that point in time. I mean, I was still young and supposedly healthy, and I had all these symptoms coming up. And I did end up going to see a doctor and started out with doing some of the initial, I did some medications. I later on ended up doing an excision surgery as well. But I was finding that through doing all of this, I still wasn't feeling great. The medications they were putting on just made me feel terrible. And I just wanted something more, a deeper layer of support. And so I started first just kind of experimenting with dietary stuff on my own, where I would just try making some changes and, eating more veggies, trying to cut out some of the more inflammatory foods in my diet. And I started seeing a difference just from doing that. So that made me want to dig deeper. And I am the personality type where if I learn one thing, I have to learn all the things. So
I am the same.
I love it.
I am the same. That's how we ended up with 4 different lineages of Reiki.
Oh my gosh.
Because this is not one, and being a Reiki master teacher, and all of the things, and learning childbirth for Reiki.
I love
Girl,
it.
we're the same.
Right? There's just so much to learn. So, yeah, I started just getting education. I started learning about nutrition, and later on went back to learn all the functional work, the functional testing and everything, and it feels like every layer that I learned just got me feeling so much better. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm actually having completely pain-free periods and not really having endo symptoms anymore, where it used to be really bad. So I'm very thankful to be where I am today. I feel like I've come such a long way in my health, and I definitely want to share that with everybody.
I love that so much. Curious because I don't know. So what education do you need to be a nutritionist? I know for a dietitian because my friend is one.
Mhm.
She had to get a master's degree. But what does an education do you need to be a nutritionist? Is it the same?
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. There's many different pathways. There is a pathway where you can, get a typical degree. I decided to go the route kind of focused more on the things that I really wanted to learn. So I started with the Nutritional Therapy Association, that they have a program geared directly towards learning about all things nutrition. I later went into the Restorative Wellness Solutions program, where you learn all of the testing and kind of the more in-depth stuff. And I'm actually now in the process of studying at the Functional Nutrition Academy with Aaron Holt, and kind of digging in deep and learning all the things there. So,
So there's like certification
mhm,
programs that you can go for. Oh, that's
yeah,
very fascinating.
yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so tell us. So can a person that has endometriosis get pregnant? So a lot of people assume like the common knowledge or I don't know if it's a myth or misconception, you'll educate me,
Mhm.
is that it'll be incredibly difficult or it's not even possible at all.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And like many things, there's nuance to it, right? The simple, short, and sweet answer is that yes, it's absolutely possible to get pregnant with endometriosis. That being said, having endometriosis definitely presents some challenges, as I'm sure many people listening to this can attest to, where it can present with fertility struggles. But there's also so much that can be done to help to support that. I find, because I work now with clients who have endometriosis, and we do a lot of work to help to just dig in and figure out what's really going on in your body, what's kind of going on under the hood. And oftentimes when you start to resolve that stuff, when you figure out what's going on in particular, actually one of the key things that I find to be really supportive when it comes to fertility with endometriosis, or really with supporting endometriosis in general as well, is really supporting your immune system, because there's a huge component of immune health along with endometriosis, and that can have a huge impact on fertility. It's one of those things that it may not make an immediate connection on that of,
I
oh,
didn't
I'm
know
struggling
that.
with fertility, so let me support my immune system. But it starts to get a little bit more complex with that. But I want to kind of break that down and explain that in a way that's simple and easy to understand for everybody. That there have been studies more and more done that endometriosis itself is more than anything an immune related condition. It's not autoimmune like some of the directly autoimmune conditions that you hear about out there, but it does have a huge immune component, in the sense that our bodies are intended to go in and kind of clean up when there are things like those endometrial lesions growing in your body in places that it shouldn't be. That where endometriosis develops, our immune system should be going in and kind of cleaning that up. And if it's not, if we're seeing endometriosis continue to grow and progress, what that's really telling us is that our immune system isn't doing its job. And of course, we know there's a hormonal component with endometriosis as well that can affect it. And all of this stuff leads into the fertility piece as well, because again, it's not something that's often talked about, but your immune system can really impact your body's ability to get pregnant, because it's not uncommon for your body to notice that when you get pregnant, that there's something that is essentially foreign in your body, and kind of wanting to, your immune system's kind of wanting to handle that and be like, what's going on here? And
Right.
so when we help to support the immune system, we help to kind of calm down that reactivity that's happening. And that can actually support your ability to sustain a healthy pregnancy, especially when I see people who are, maybe having pregnancy loss or just struggling to conceive in the first place. There's so many factors at play. And the more that we can kind of support your body's ability to just function optimally, it can really make a huge difference and, make it to the point where you're able to conceive easily and naturally, which is pretty amazing.
Question for you, and this
Mm-hmm.
may not be a fair question, so you can tell me if it's not. Uh, a lot of times women have tried things and then didn't get results. This sounds like you're truly getting to the root cause of and I think it's even doing testing that most doctors wouldn't even do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I see that they're like, you're fine, it's okay.
Right.
Or they're not testing deep enough or the right things at the doctor's office. How quickly can a person, from the time that they come to you, you do the testing, and I know that testing can vary from patient to patient, but on average, do you see an improvement in their health and that they can get pregnant?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like anything, it's going to vary from person to person. We're all a little bit different in just where we're coming from and our histories and everything going on in our bodies. Because even though I work with women with endometriosis, everybody comes with a little bit different story, a little bit different picture with their health. So
Right.
I definitely see people start to see positive results very quickly. I mean, oftentimes one of the first places that we're working on addressing is gut health, because a lot of women with endometriosis have gut stuff going on. You've got the bloating, right? Super, super common. But in
Is it
addition,
true a lot of our brain and our immune system is rooted in our gut? Is that true?
absolutely. Yeah. A good 80% of our immune system lives in your gut. So when we're talking about
Holy moly,
supporting,
guacamole.
yeah, when we're talking about supporting immune health and supporting endo in general, the gut is one of the key elements there. In fact, it would be very challenging for me to do the work that I do without supporting the gut health along the way, because it's such an important piece. And that can be range things from gut infections. Maybe there's an overgrowth of certain types of bacteria. Maybe there's food reactions happening in there. Maybe your digestive system is just not breaking things down well. There's so many factors.
So many factors.
Yeah. But the more that we can work through all of that stuff, the better that people feel, and the more optimized that immune system gets, the more optimized your health gets. And the next thing you know, you start to see those positive results, and you know hopefully you are able to just get pregnant easily.
I have for people who do have endometriosis and they do get pregnant, um, and does that present any problems during pregnancy?
That can kind of go either way. Some people find that during pregnancy, all of their endo symptoms just clear up during that time.
Oh, that's
And
magical.
you're right, which is amazing. Some people find that they get a little bit of a flare during a pregnancy. So it can vary from person to person, but I do find that supporting those just healthy inflammatory levels, healthy inflammatory response in your body in general, both before and even during pregnancy, helping to support the nutrients that your body needs, because during pregnancy, your body burns through nutrients fast because you are growing a human
It's
being
true.
inside of your body. It requires a lot of nutrients. And so helping to support that along the way can be really helpful too. Just making sure that your body's getting everything that it needs, and the baby's getting everything that it needs. And that can help that process to go much more smoothly for people.
I remember in pregnancy, I'm extremely lactose intolerant, not even a
Mm,
little bit, a lot, and I've been like that my whole life.
yeah.
I was able to eat cheese with no problems during pregnancy.
Hey.
It was magic. Sometimes pregnancy is not, it can be problem solving. It can magically work wonders. But I remember during my second trimester, I craved cheese and I ate just like a lot of cheese and nothing happened. I was like, what bananas is going on here? So
Yeah.
he was magic, but we can't eat cheese now. But so with endometriosis, was really we spoke to another person on the podcast, and she was talking about endometriosis that you can and you mentioned it too, that it's chronic. And she
Mhm.
said that she was able to put her endometriosis into remission.
Mhm.
So is it like, I think what is super fascinating, I might have to work with you after this call, is that you can pinpoint like what your body's, I guess, like what inflames you, because endometriosis is an inflammatory disease. It's not a reproductive disease, right? It's like, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a common misconception with endometriosis. We tend to think of it as a reproductive disorder. It's an issue with women's health basically. And it's
Right.
interesting because the symptoms oftentimes are connected with that, right? A lot of the symptoms women
Right.
experience are surrounding your periods and fertility. And so it's easy to kind of jump to that conclusion and make that connection. But what we've really found, there's been actually quite a bit of research done at this point in time. And what they've really found is that that is basically becomes like a secondary result of endometriosis, not that the reproductive stuff is causing it directly, but that it's
It's
like
a
the
consequence.
symptom. It's the symptom of it. Even the hormones
Right.
piece, because that's something that we hear about a lot, and that's where the whole idea behind these hormonal medications and everything comes into play. Is that they think, oh, well, if we just lower the estrogen in your body, that all of a sudden, the endo symptoms will be gone. And there's definitely a hormonal component to it, absolutely. But at the end of the day, and this is something that I really talk about a lot in my practice, is that hormones really are a symptom. When there's any sort of hormone imbalance, you've got estrogen dominance,
Ooh, that's
you've
a
got low
different take.
progesterone. Yeah, the hormone imbalance really is a symptom of what's going on deeper in your body. Be that,
What's deeper than hormones?
well, there's a lot of things that impact the hormones. So one of the key pieces actually that again is not talked about as much is blood sugar. Your blood sugar regulation
Insulin.
has a direct impact on your hormone health. It's something I really love to talk about. I find it to be super interesting.
Blowing my
But
mind right now. I thought in my education on TikTok,
mm-hmm.
I got a degree in TikTok,
I love it.
is that the hormones were the base level, but you're saying something below that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want
Mm-hmm.
to finish my question before we dive into that, because I don't want to forget
Yeah.
that. But like my question was, so there are different stages of, I know there's different stages of endo, like how severe it is,
Yeah.
but there is like, what is like, is there an active endometriosis, and then like one that's in remission where you're not flaring up, or that you're like living life but you're sustaining with like diet, I guess is what I understand. Is that,
Yeah.
or is there different, is that like either you have active or it's in remission? Are those the two things, or
Kind of. I think that's one of those things that I think the research, like they're still trying to figure out exactly what goes on with this, but just from like lived experience and clinical experience, what I can say is that uh, there are many people out there with endometriosis who are living symptom free. So, even scans and things are showing that the endometriosis is not continuing to progress like it maybe once had been. So, because what a lot of people see, this was my story early on, is that the endometriosis started to develop, and then it just gradually got worse and worse and worse and worse. It was kind of just developing over time. That's where, for me, I ended up going in and having an excision surgery because I wanted to just go in and remove all of that tissue from my body and kind of start over start over fresh. But then through all the dietary and lifestyle strategies and really taking that root cause approach, I'm now at a point where it's been years now since my surgery, and I haven't seen the endo symptoms coming back. I haven't seen any continued growth of endometriosis lesions in my body. And so that is essentially what is considered to be endo remission, is that you're not
got it?
you're not really experiencing the symptoms or the growth anymore. It doesn't mean you don't have endometriosis anymore, because it doesn't, it certainly isn't like a lifelong, you've gotten rid of it and so you never have to worry about it again. I think it's, we're continuing to do all the diet and lifestyle stuff and
So
keep
it's
your
still
body in
being
that healthy
discovered.
state. Yeah, exactly.
I had a member tell me that she was being diagnosed with silent endometriosis. What is
Yeah.
that?
Basically, that means it's asymptomatic. So it's super interesting because I think you had mentioned a little bit the different stages of endometriosis. Even, there's like a stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, which kind of rates how much disease is in your body, basically. But
Okay.
even with that, it's super interesting because you can have even stage 4 endometriosis and not really have any symptoms. You may have no pain, no digestive stuff, no fertility issues, have none of the symptoms, but the endometriosis is in fact present in your body. Or sometimes people will not have any of the reproductive related symptoms, or I should say the period related symptoms. Maybe they're not having any pain, any pelvic pain, period pain, any of the things, but then the only symptom they experience is infertility. And so then they go in and start to investigate and then find out they have endometriosis and are kind of surprised because they haven't had any of the typical symptoms you would hear about. So yeah.
Oh, so that's what silent endo is.
Yeah.
Interesting. Amazing. Can you tell people where they can connect with you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we need to talk about, let me mark that for editing. Can you tell us more about the insulin part?
Yeah. I find this to be super interesting. So we were talking about the connection between hormones and blood sugar. And basically what happens is that the blood sugar response in your body. So when your blood sugar drops, we've all experienced this when maybe you haven't eaten for too long and you start to feel a little shaky and weird, or you get a little hangry. It's one of those common symptoms. Your blood sugar has dropped. Your body is going to pump out some cortisol in order to help to bring that back up. So it's like it becomes kind of like an emergency state in your body, and vice versa. When your blood sugar gets too high, you have that big spike. Like, let's say I just drank a big old cup of coffee and I had a donut for breakfast, and you have that huge blood sugar spike. Your body then needs to bring that back down and back to neutral. And every time that it has to do that, it has impact on your overall hormone health, because your body is seeing this stuff, the huge fluctuations in blood sugar, as basically there's kind of an emergency happening. Like, oh my gosh, I'm under stress. There's this emergency state where I'm constantly having to bring blood sugar back into this ideal state, this ideal amount of blood sugar. And that ends up impacting your hormones, because now your body's not prioritizing that sex hormone production. And so oftentimes you'll see a picture where maybe the hormones are just overall really low. One thing that's super interesting is the adrenals, which have a huge part in adjusting and keeping blood sugar stable, actually also produce some of the sex hormones. The ovaries are the main producer of sex hormones when you are in a reproductive age, but our adrenals also produce a small amount of those sex hormones. And so that can have some direct impact, but a lot of it just has to do with the feedback loop going to your brain, right? Your brain is hearing this feedback from your body that there's an emergency happening, the blood sugar is crashing. And so it kind of prioritizes resources towards that and pulls it away from the hormone production. And that's where we can start to see some imbalance in the hormones. So that's one of the key pieces. One of the other pieces that I see that's really important is the gut health and liver health. I mean, there's a few other things that can really impact that, because that's how our body actually detoxifies those extra hormones, right? When we say you have too much estrogen in your system, our bodies have to eliminate that somehow. And so our liver is what processes that, and it ends up eliminating it out through your poop. And so if you're having digestive issues and maybe you're constipated or just not not moving things along as well as you could, some of that excess estrogen can end up kind of being reabsorbed into your system, and we start to see more of those estrogen dominant symptoms. So there's a lot of factors involved that can impact the
You've
hormones.
blown my mind in so many ways.
I love it.
I could talk to you all day. Could you tell us where we can find you and work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So best places to find me, one would be Instagram. You can find me at EndobellyGirl. And the other would be my website, which is www.endobellygirl.com.
Love the name. I love your brand.
Thank you.
Well, everyone that's listening, make sure to go check out the show notes and connect with Alyssa. And she's a gem. Your energy is so pure. And I know that you're going to impact so many of our listeners. Until next time, my friends, let the Reiki flow.